session, which is Hero's Journey for Entrepreneur. And I will start introducing Katarina. Katarina, CEO and co-founder for TADA Medical. Katarina, mic is yours. And sorry for the delay, the 8-minute delay, but we will give you your time. Also, Dr. Phil, please take your coffee, stay with us, and you will have more time with us in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hassan and Dr. Hamadi. It's wonderful to be back. I must say that the title of it, Hero's Journey for Inventor and Entrepreneurship, and Entrepreneurs, for me, it was a little bit hard to take in from the beginning, because for us, it's such a teamwork. It's not one person, or it's not the 5 big personality traits that one innovator have. And well, we heard Dr. Phil, he was from MIT. My team and I, we used a speed design process to find real needs at the hospitals. But I will walk you through where we are today, but I will focus very much on the teamwork and how one can align the ecosystem, because our journey, we've needed a lot of initially funding, ideas, and access to network. So it's a story and how there can be alignment in the ecosystem. So we started our journey at the Children's Oncology Clinic to identify their unmet needs. And there we observed the need for safer infusions. Infusions is 16 billion IV tubes are used every year and 1.5 billion catheters. However, 40% fail. So there was a real need. We realized that when the problem is that something breaks, the standard solution is to make it stronger. And then there is a study in the US with 1,500 healthcare professionals showing that that method isn't good enough. Eventually, there will be forces on the tube that are strong enough that despite securement devices, there will be accidents. So we were working through this process that is called clinical innovation. Got the scholarship to do so. It was done in collaboration with a few partners in Sweden at the time, KTH and Karolinska Institute. And we got a lot, apart from that we got the scholarship to do so and be access to the hospital for such a long time. We were coached by a lot of entrepreneurs and medical doctors and people who has done these journeys before. So it's sort of fostering from the very beginning, when we were still looking for needs that were worth and where we had the capacity to actually solve them. And this was when we were at the Clinical Innovation Fellowship, it was 2015. And now where we are now, just a spoiler, is that we have finished clinical trials and we are sold 1 box. So we're just entering commercial phase. We need to scale, but it takes quite a long time for medical devices to actually go from idea to being used at the hospitals. And then there needs to be an alignment from the market to the patent. So there is an entire process before you get where we are going. But I spoke more about that last time. So I will, move forward where we are now. So we've had the collaboration with a clinical innovation team, and then the ecosystem in Stockholm has been very good to us, as well as the European Innovation Council in Europe. And a lot of people have said, well, we got a lot of help, or we find that this is your innovation has such an impact for global healthcare that we want to help you. But we have gotten lots and lots of help, me and my colleagues. So initially was the 16 billion IV lines being used and 1.5 billion catheters. And then there were forces on the that make sure it's basic, and you don't see it here, but if there are forces on the tube, eventually if the force is so high, the tube, everything will be dislodged. But there are other damages to the vein if it can still be in. But in total, 40% of the catheters fail to sit intended 12. And then there are the global catastrophic consequences of these. I divided them into consequences and economic consequences. Can someone say something? Because it says my
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
we are
perfect. No,
with you.
because the internet connection said
Yeah,
unstable
I
side,
know.
but I got
I
very
will give
afraid.
you a
Yeah.
note. Don't worry.
Thank you. Now, so safety consequences, that's the patient can get injured and there is a risk of a death. Then there is a toxic exposure and increased cancer risk for the healthcare personnel. And there is a loss of medication and interrupted treatments. So this is within infusion, but it will of other lines as well. There would be a need for the same when it comes to dialysis, for home care, lots of things. But we have focused really much on the need. So it's like Dr. Phil talked about, was it the dolphins on the idea when it comes to unicorn, but this is a medical device. The financial and economic consequences is that it takes 30 minutes per nurse to reinstate therapy. And there is a huge waste of plastic waste, 23,000 tons. And all these accidents add up to 72 billion euros in unnecessary healthcare consumption every year. And I will come later on how unfair that is distributed. But first, I was just going to say, when the problem is that something breaks, you heard that before, the standard solution would be to make it stronger. We did the opposite. So when there are forces on our device splits into two parts. Double walls keep blood and medicine from spilling, and you can use the protocols at the hospital to reconnect the parts again. This has created an entire new space, since the traditional devices are only working on the prevention, where we are reducing the consequences. So basically, we're allowing for the accidents, but take away the consequences. A map in the middle, you have state of the market today, and then on the other side there are two American companies addressing it as we are doing the breakaway connector. This is really good, because otherwise, if you're the only one, it would be very easy for large medtech corporation to just sweep it under the carpet or something. Whereas there is a focus, and also the Infusion Nurses Society in the US are highlighting the need for helping to prevent dislodgement, because it is a huge problem. We don't want to, remove the securement devices. It's like a match. So you need that, but then to take off the higher forces, you need our device. So it's a collaboration and, again, alignment to the market, that you don't create something that is already there, but adding value, adding impact. This is one example from one 500-bed hospital, how much they can actually save just by adding it in the restart cost. Out of the 16 billion tubes, we have identified different risk patient groups, and where there are hazardous drugs and expensive drug infusions, as well as high-risk settings. And all of these have different patient segments as well as applications. It's obviously a huge area, and I think we'll be busy with this for the rest of our lives, actually. And it's really intriguing, and it's nice. And I think one of those things that drive our journey is that we can make an impact. It is a purposeful time, and it's wonderful to know one can make a difference, actually. And how it's spread out with a different caker and different opportunities. And then you have home infusions and all of those things are differently treated depending on which country you're in. In some countries, they're more common with home care, that you prefer to be home than in the hospital. But, infusions, 90% of patients admitted to hospital will receive infusion. And as you heard, 40% actually don't sit intended dwell time. So if you want to move care home, you need a good solution for the infusion, since 90% of the patients will need. There are two key drivers for our product and the need we discovered, and that's the scale with the 16 billion IV lines every year. And then we come to the chronic shortage, and it's chronic shortage at scale. So if we look at nurses, for instance, where medicine, it could have been hospital beds. This average is 3.97 nurses and midwives per 1,000 people. And I am calling in from London. I'm from Sweden, but I'm calling in from London today. And in the UK, it's out of all the nursing positions, 12% are unfilled. We got a call from Ireland where, due to lack of, they are on place 5 on most nurses per capita. And they said that doctors, because there is lack of nurses, they don't have time to change the urinary bags. So the drainage bags get pulled out and causing damages to the patients. So if you see the most well-resourced hospital settings in the world are struggling with lack of nurses, we can of course understand that on the right, it's going to be a lot worse. We worked on as a company, and also where we've gotten help is I've structured them into 5 areas. And also from investor point of view, they see it as a risk reduction, whereas for us, it's the improved possibilities of actually making it. Where we're very lucky in Sweden. We have a lot of people from different nationalities. So our chief financial officer is originally from Pakistan, but she lives in Sweden now. And then we have people from New Zealand and Singapore and India and China. We need to work on more help from that, I believe. And then me and my co-founders, Rebecca and Christopher, we were part of the founding team. And then we have 2 people in the board that also add value. And I think with this adding value, when we started Clinical Innovation Fellowship, we were put together, meant to be a perfect multidisciplinary team. And we continued doing so. So we added people with different backgrounds. I will speed up. Sarah talked about the IP before, and it's truly, I mean, if you don't have a patent, you're not going to get the funding, etc. And then our first patent is approved in 14 countries, and some are still waiting, and then we have an additional four patents, and those things are important to build up a company. We have, and then the regulatory approvals, of course, are really important. We got help. We sold a box into an NHS hospital, and also here we got help from the embassy in Sweden. So, you know, it's a lot of the entire ecosystem that people have helped, because none of those are, I mean, the need is there, fine. Whereas it's something we all do together to make the world better, isn't it? Clinical trials. Here we got help from the European Innovation Council. They are funding some of our clinical trials. So that's really, really amazing. And they are going well. And it's such a wonder to see that you first have seen the need at the hospital, and then you see your own product at the hospitals, you know, bringing value. That's truly amazing. Pretty much the same as the lack of nurses. So order from the GDP, and then moving, and the blue markers is the populations in millions. But since it's driven by shortage, I think, you know, the middle world in between would benefit the most from our product. And I think this is quite interesting to see the impact in the innovation and where you can add value and add innovation. We have just started direct sales to hospital, very, very little, because we need to scale the entire bits to jump in. We need to scale production to not only to cut down the cost, but also to be able to deliver the volumes and reach a value inflection point that could, you know, really make this huge. Also here, we're working with a company who helps us to position ourselves at the perfect points from investors. And same here, I'm just jumping. We are looking for investments to scale. And I mean, that's where we are not struggling now. It's a little bit of cornerstones with investments, sale, and manufacturing capacity. So it's 3 cornerstones then adds together. So in summary, the hero's journey for inventor and entrepreneurs, it's all about team and people. So we've taken need-based innovation with a multidisciplinary team. And then so far we got funding through the journey. and we've got a product that is working, patented, and have regulatory approval for this year. And half of our funding is actually soft funding. So we've obviously gotten lots of help. And the impact, it's so amazing. Those journeys change your life. So I can encourage it and recommend it to anyone who wants to start a journey of their own.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Katarina, for the wonderful and interesting topic that you cover through your journey. I don't know if Dr. Phil, Paul, I believe, Paul with us?
Yep.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
I don't know. It's a good morning for you?
No, it's good afternoon.
Good afternoon. All right. Paul, I can see that from the introduction that DHU3CO. Am I correct?
You are correct. I'm
All
just
right.
going to see the screen.
Please take your mic, introduce yourself better than me, and the floor is yours.
Just give me 1 second, please. So, Salam alaikum and good afternoon to everybody on the call. Firstly, thank you to Dr. Hanadi for the invite today and the opportunity to present to everybody. My name is Paul Groom, and I'm not really sure how much detail to go into on the entrepreneur's journey, but really what I'd like to do over the next couple of minutes is just give encouragement to any entrepreneurs in the audience. It can be an incredibly pleasurable, frustrating journey as an entrepreneur, but I'd just like to talk about me, my past, my future. So I live in Bahrain for the last 10 years, originally from the UK. I have 3 grown-up children who have all endured the amount of time I've invested in work, but they still talk to me. I love my family, my partner Jeddah, my business, and all forms of sport and travel. So in terms of the past, I think, being of a certain age, you do become a seasoned business professional with certain skills. But what the entrepreneur's journey has enabled is an incredible international experience in brand business development and growth. Formative years with Adidas provided some essential business knowledge and skills, but it was in 1994 when
I'm sorry, Paul, if you can just put it as a full screen for a better view for the audience.
Yeah, of course I can.
Instead of the notes on the side. Yeah.
Is that better?
Thank you. Yeah, it's better. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up, Hassan. So yeah, 5 startups in 30 years since 1994 across various sectors, latterly with education and technology. Various territories experience, go to market across numerous platforms in both B2B and B2C. And I think the sort of attributes that one works towards is innovation, improving the customer experience in all we do, and delivering results for both employees, our clients, and our shareholders. So a couple of warm words, just really, having been blessed to work with lots of good people, amazing people, and good brands. One of the quotes that I always mention is that as an entrepreneur, you're only ever one phone call away from euphoria or disappointment, and it's still true to this day. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to try and iterate that the entrepreneur's journey doesn't start. The startups that I've been involved with, some are still going. We had a failure, And what it does, you move with the industry and the journey. And I feel that all I've learned up to date can now be applied to our new company, which is Nearfield AI. And from selling Adidas trainers to building a global platform for artificial intelligence is quite a journey. So the context really in this is that artificial intelligence is not new. Agents were a key topic 30 years ago in the 90s. And in fact, Bill Gates, in his book, The Road Ahead, was mentioning agents in 1995. My business partner, Dr. Raj Kerwin, is also a pioneer in the field of autonomous intelligent agents. And he worked with Professor Nick Jennings, one of the fathers of intelligent agents, who wrote the paper on intelligent agent theory. However, it's only latterly in 2023, but it started in November 22 with the launch of ChatGPT. And that, at the time, in terms of subscribers, was the fastest growing subscriber platform in the world ever. I think Threads overtook it early this year, but I think they've lost some of the users. But Chat gained 1 million users in a couple of months, which was a phenomenal achievement. Since then, we've seen multiple startups riding on the back of it, creating, if you like, an interface or a veneer over the large language models. And they're fondly known as the wrapper market. However, they've had a great time in 2023, but we see that journey is going to start to become a little bit more challenging. And as Bill Gates quote, agents are going to upend the software industry, bringing about the biggest revolution in computing since we went from typing commands to tapping on icons. And we at Nearfield are at the cutting edge of this revolution, building agents that are not only safe and secure, but cost-effective, aiding productivity in the workplace. As an exec summary, just want to explain that our platform will be used for building these autonomous intelligent agents. Each agent is trained by human expertise, and they're designed to augment staff and perform as if you like, an assistant to those staff, performing pure business functions. And the first one that we're in alpha stage at the moment, soon to come into beta, is a marketing agent. I'll show you a couple of screenshots in a minute. We're also going to be building in our platform a store where clients can find the agents to support their staff becoming the best that they can be. And we'll also provide consultancy to help customers understand how AI applies to business. And for those larger organizations that Dr. Phil was talking about, providing a tailored or personalized agent architecture for enterprises around the world. And we've already embarked on that journey. We have a working proof of concept with a company that had got 130 plus different businesses within their organization and surfacing information instantly to ensure that you're compliant, that you're not losing opportunity, is quite a challenge. What we are committed to is a level up. Historically, technology has been the behest of the rich and the larger organizations. We feel that our agents will be as well suited to a startup who is cash strapped and resource restrained, as well as an SME, as well as a larger enterprise. It'll be done on a SaaS model, and the monthly cost for the SaaS will be coins and therefore readily available to all businesses. So what is an agent or a near-field agent? It is autonomous. It's an application that acts intelligently and learns. It has that expert capability that we talked about. And in the interim, we're going to be building agents across marketing, finance, HR, supply chain, and any others that become requested through our community. We'll also, in time, have a studio where independent developers come in and build their own agents using our toolkit and market their own agents within the store. But it's all about help. It's about reducing those labor-intensive, monotonous tasks that people are getting paid to do, doing that through the agent, and therefore enabling those individuals in a business to be upskilled, reskilled, to do more important tasks and more self-fulfilling business functions, all of which augment those staff in terms of improving productivity and efficiency. So this is just a screenshot of the first agent, and you can see the capabilities in the marketing. We start with brand discovery, understanding whether it's your own brand or a competitor brand, they're positioning the market. It's redefining your positioning to be competitive, developing a framework for the marketing activity, campaign planning, execution, and evaluation. And that can be from content to creating LinkedIn, Twitter, and various other social media platform content, e-shots, newsletters, etc. And our agents are slightly unique in that they will have a working memory. So it's not just accessing and surfacing information either from internal or external large language models. It's talking about retaining that memory and learning from the search that you and your staff have been doing, and retaining that memory, learning from that user journey, and effectively being able to surface instant information, enabling better decision making. And whilst this is just a rough interface, each of the agents will be able to iterate information and data in whichever format you require, whether that's pie charts, bar charts, graphs, etc. So why? As I mentioned, they're based on human expertise. We configure these with our human experts. All of the agents have model beliefs, desires, and intentions. They're autonomous and run continuously. They don't take coffee breaks. They don't take holidays. They run 24/7 if required. As I mentioned, they learn. So intelligent, understanding, and verifying, improving results as they learn. I've talked about the memory. And always augmenting staff, but all of them are focused on results, not just producing data or a service. And during the course of next year, each of our agents from finance, HR, supply chain, marketing will interact with each other to provide a complete business system. So Statista had done some research recently about AI, and some of the concerns were expensive to develop and implement, may not be feasible for small businesses. Well, we're making ours affordable for businesses of all sizes. Lack of customization, that it is what it is, and aren't fully able to meet business tools. Well, those are the wrapper models that you've seen in the marketplace. Near-field agents are designed by experts, intelligent, with memory, learn continuously, so therefore evolve with your business. There are deep concerns about privacy and security. We know this. Near-field agents are safe, secure, meeting all international GDPR rules and regulations.
Excuse me, Paul, I just need to highlight we have George and Dr. Phil up to 4 o'clock. So
okay,
if you allow me to close within the next couple of minutes.
Yep, we're nearly there, actually. One other point I would just want to make is around values. Near-field is committed to building responsible AI, and we have statements, and one of our board members is dedicated to governance and compliance. So I don't know whether there are any questions, but as we're running out of time, I think the next steps solution for all of the audience really is have a think, have a review of what I've said, and then there are 4 areas to consider. We can either talk about a consultation to see how AI can support your particular company. You can request a demo to fully understand how the agents function and perform. We can have a discovery meeting to learn more about our platform and how it has benefits to you. Or we invite anybody in the audience to join the beta program, which will be starting in December.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It was really interesting to contact you after the conference, and we have a business, let's say, case to develop between accelerator companies in Kuwait and your institution. I would like to move to Mr. George, as he is engaged to a meeting, and he would like to join us now in this session to present his journey. Mr. George, are you here? Otherwise, I will have to move to Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil, before you start, can I take confirmation from Dr. Hanadi? Dr. Hanadi, I didn't see any George account here. Is he joining through a different account? No. All right, Dr. Phil, mic is yours before we move to the next session with Zahra. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Hassan, for that. And it has been fascinating to listen to the entrepreneurs. So thank you, Katarina. Thank you, Paul. I had not realized they were going to be such wonderful entrepreneurs, and yet they are living examples of that approach of taking ideas to impact. And listening to Katarina and the IV, the medical side, impact is not just profit. With Katarina's approach, this is truly having impact, both for the patient, but also for the medical teams. And in terms of saving resource and plastic, it's also good for the planet. And fascinating to hear from Paul about AI. It's amazing how so many people woke up to AI in March this year. But as he rightly says, it was out there in November. Actually, it was Nick Jennings, Paul, who introduced me to it when he had it write a speech for him in London. And I'm reminded by some MIT professors around here, AI is a new subject. The word was created by MIT professor Minsky in 1956. So the interesting thing is the technology is often out there. It is how entrepreneurs use it and make a difference. I think generative AI is a very special category because unlike some of the digital technologies creating unicorns in the last couple of years, crypto, Bitcoin, blockchain. Do you remember NFTs, non-fungible tokens? For a while, everybody thought that was the future. One of the problems with these technologies is there's always a shiny new technology. One of the things I like about the MIT approach from the professors is they talk about the match between a problem and a solution. Is the technology solution going to solve an interesting problem? And for many of those things, they weren't. But the interesting thing is generative AI is in a different category. And so it's really good that you're getting to look at this. And I see in the chat a kind comment. Thank you, Katarina. I'm just so impressed with you entrepreneurs making the difference. One of the things I would like to say, if it is okay, is I'd just like to quickly show a slide that I was going to show earlier, which will help put some of this in context. Because we believe that entrepreneurship is around the world. Some of the Palestinians on my Team Palestine going through my REAP program are some of the most entrepreneurial people I've met. The same with Emiratis, and Team Saudi Arabia is remarkable. This is an interactive map, so anybody who's interested can just go to that website and you can see who's on those teams. One of the things I'd like to share is we have a 3S approach. And our listener from Nepal was asking me, what should the strategy for Nepal, for Kathmandu be? And we say you cannot know what you need to do or be until you study your stakeholders in the system. And the thing I want to share on the stakeholders side is there's a theory out there called the triple helix, that all you need is government, industry, and academe, and everything will be fine. This is being taught around the world, and the bottom right is an example of this being used in Uganda. But just like the world is flat, turned out to be wrong, the triple helix is not enough. In fact, the triple helix was based on a study of a place called MIT. But unfortunately, the authors did not really understand MIT. It is not just the university. You need to have other people than the big three of big government, big university, and big corporates. And so we find there's two other players, the entrepreneurs whom we've been hearing about from today, and the funders. You know, Katarina is doing an amazing job, but she needs that funding to make the difference. So we've ended up with a 5-stakeholder model. And this is the image that I was keen to get to. Yes, you need the university, the government, and the corporate, but you also need to have the entrepreneur at the table and the risk capital provider. To Katarina and Paul's approach, sometimes you hear from entrepreneurs that they did it by themselves. The best entrepreneurs admit that they were part of a team and that they were supported by the ecosystem. So here we have a team that is female-led, like the entrepreneur who's in Team Riyadh. Sulwa is amazing. But you also need the risk capital provider. And this is more than venture capital. Venture capital often means Silicon Valley venture capital, which is very short-term and is good at producing unicorns. But you need patient risk capital, which can come from governments and universities. My friend Nabil now runs Saudi Arabian venture capital and is much more patient, because to make a difference in the medical world, in the energy transition than elsewhere, you need something other that's just going to be a very short attention span, Silicon Valley VC, which wants to do a digital dance app in 3 years' time. But actually, some of these things need much more patience. And that's why I'm excited to be speaking to people in your region. Yes, you need entrepreneurs, and you have a lot of them from across the Arabic-speaking world. When I was in the Emirates, some of the best entrepreneurs were not actually Emiratis. They were Egyptians, they were Palestinians, they were Syrians, who had the support of the whole ecosystem. And so thinking about how these all can come together will make a real difference. And I just wanted to show, this is the recent Team Riyadh that was here. Sadly, Team Palestine obviously couldn't travel from the West Bank to be with us at MIT, but Team Riyadh was here. And I mentioned Salwa Radwi. She is the entrepreneur member of the team, and she is amazing. Such an entrepreneurial leader, leading a team, but also realizing that she has the support of an entire set of people, including Sarah and her colleagues from Monshaat, the agency, which is not only helping SMEs, but is also helping those IDEs. And so I wanted to mention this because very much in line with the entrepreneurs we heard from, we need those brave entrepreneurs, but we also need the support of the risk capital providers who fund them to do this wonderful research. And ultimately, everybody else has a role to play as well. So let me stop sharing my screen for a moment because I wanted to go ahead and show you something else. But I'm just so very proud to have so many teams. As you will have noticed from the REAP map, we don't have teams from around the world. We haven't had many. We haven't had anybody from Kuwait or Bahrain. Or we had one from Qatar. We had one from the Emirates. But the thing I wanted to share, given the questions that I've seen coming into me privately, is we do teach these sorts of things around the world. But I want to separate out two things. If you are interested in helping your innovation ecosystem, so working with Team Riyadh, they want to improve the innovation ecosystem around Riyadh, as did Qatar, as did Morocco, as did Cairo, then the reading you should do is about the REAP program. This is focused on how do you help your region, whether it's Qatar or Kentucky, Lima, Peru, or Bangkok, Thailand. But if you are an actor in that, then you might want to think about how you, as a large organization, whether you're a public large organization like a government or a hospital or something, or private like a for-profit company, like Saudi Aramco or other companies looking at the energy transition, then you want to think about the other part, not innovation ecosystems, but corporate innovation. And how do you make that difference? And so here's a couple of free resources that we have available, because we are really trying to encourage people to make a difference in your world important region. And then finally, if you have would like to hear from me again, there are also ways of actually going through a very structured way to think about how can your companies do well by engaging their innovation ecosystem, but also how can they do good in the world and support the kinds of entrepreneurs like Katarina and Paul by buying their products, providing money to support them. So we believe this all comes together. And one of the exciting things is that the world is changing in the 2020s. We think we may have had peak Silicon Valley. The pandemic has really shaken things out. As a diplomat, I do not know where in the world are going to be the top innovation ecosystems by 2030, but I know the world is changing faster. We are seeing the rise of Arabian innovation ecosystems. We're seeing Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia trying to capture this. And so we see this as very important messaging for the world that innovation is shifting. And there is a real opportunity for the places that you care about to do really well in this. Just because America was the top place in the late 20th century does not mean it will be in the early 21st century, particularly with the kinds of things like generative AI that Paul was talking about. That is a real game changer.
Totally agree with you, Paul. Totally agree with you, Paul. I'm really concerned about now the entrepreneur strategy with the quick innovation shift in the world. I would like to move to George, because I did call you, George. Sorry for that. I didn't find you. And now you are here. Thank you for joining us with the great participation from everyone. Paul, George, floor is yours. I would like to give you more time.
Thank you very much. That's wonderful. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, great.
Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you. I just wanted to come on to discuss one of the things that is really important from the perspective of public health and also digital health, and of course, artificial intelligence. And that is making sure that it is actually the best and the safest it can possibly be. Having been a nurse and having worked obviously in the UAE as well, I actually have come across many organizations who have developed new digital healthcare, have developed new technology, and have also developed artificial intelligence to assist not only people with their problems, but also patients coming out of hospitals or just who require assistance. I work for an organization now called ORCA, which is the Organization for the Review of Care and Health Applications. ORCA has one goal, and that goal is to make sure that all digital health is safe and is the best it can possibly be. There is a lot at this moment in time on the market, and I'd like to share a quick presentation with regards to some of this information that you may see here. So what I'd like to say, first of all, is just moving through some of the areas, is that, and I'll just share my screen. Hopefully you can see this now. There we go. Can you see the screen there? Sorry, just to ask.
We'll confirm. Yes, we can see it with the notes. Hopefully it's better to put it as a full screen.
Indeed, yes. So I've got the wrong screen on. So if you just bear with me 1 second. That should be now possible to do it this way. Right. Is that any better?
Yes.
Wonderful. So just to go through very quickly the actual information itself. So ORCA itself has a problem, and the problem is the fact that there are too many applications in the world at this moment in time which are not fit for purpose. So there are 367,000 health and care applications at this moment in time throughout the world. And we have looked at the standards against each one of those, and approximately only 20% of those applications meet the standards which are good for a specific person or for a patient. Now, the problems we have in the past is that with medication, there are organizational bodies such as the MHRA, such as NICE, which go through and look at licensed drugs, look at, for example, specific devices, and look at other individual areas through the frameworks that they use. So trust is there when it comes to medication, but trust currently isn't there when it comes to digital health. Awareness, again, with regards to medication, awareness was always there when we looked at, for example, the British National Formulary or any other organizational, artificial organization that looks at medication and defines which medications are safe and how to use them as well. And that even goes down to the elements of looking at medication and how you prescribe that through, for example, EPMA on the actual wards themselves, or over the counter with regards to individual chemists or pharmacies. And the last thing, of course, is governance. You have to make sure that obviously the medication that you are providing is actually correct and, of course, is governed correctly. But when you look at digital health, it's a completely different thing. The trust currently isn't there because there are so many applications which people use and then stop using because it isn't fit for purpose. And this is where we as an organization come into our play. We look at all the frameworks and all the actual standards, and we review against all those standards every individual artificial intelligence stroke digital technology. We do continuous assessments of all the applications and all the technologies available, and we continuously reassess those on a 2-weekly or a 4-weekly basis. We then present those in a digital formulary for hospitals, for governments around the world, for example, ministries of health and so on to use. And we are continuously monitoring those applications as well to ensure that they, in fact, remain the best they possibly can be. Now, we are looking at assessments all over the world. Obviously, here we do have one also in Dubai. And again, we have looked at assessments against areas such as the DTAC, which is Digital Technology Assessment Criteria, Mindex, the ISO standards, DIGA in Germany, Nordic Baseline Review, and obviously mHealth in Belgium. So we have taken on board not only the basic standards of assessments, but we have built on those dependent on each individual organization's or each individual country's requirements. So to show you here, we have an ORCA baseline review, which looks at clinical assurance, usability and accessibility, and data and privacy. And we go through and perform 350 individual checks against each of those areas. On top of that, as you can see here for our enhanced reviews for our different countries, we also look at evidence analysis, commercial and financial elements, interoperability, clinical safety and technical stability, of course, security, data analysis, user experience, and also clinical assessment. So we look at all those areas for every single application, every single digital innovation that's currently available throughout the world. When you then look at, for example, a review, we look at areas such as privacy policies, data storage, data usage, and also standards. Under professional assurance, our consultants, our doctors, our nursing staff use the information we provide for them for example, evidence and effectiveness, clinical involvement, clinical efficacy, for example, and everything to do with those particular areas. And of course, we ensure that every single application, which is made available to the organizations in every single country, is checked against usability and accessibility. And we present the best applications on these individual libraries. So we have here, for example, the ability of searching for any application under any condition and finding the best and the safest application under that condition or under that sub-condition. And that's by using either Android, iOS, web applications, and then from there, prescribing them in the way doctors prescribe medication to those patients who need them the most. And having been in A&E in Dubai myself, I was there with my users, actually going through and recommending to them the best applications available on the market at that time. These are some of the things that we look at. This is the digital technology assessment criteria. And we look at areas such as clinical safety, data protection, technical assurance, interoperability, and usability and accessibility as well. And we do not allow applications to be given to clinicians unless they have passed this criteria and reach a mark of 65% or above. We also incorporate many, many other standards, guidelines, and frameworks into our assessments, whether it's Cyber Essentials, whether it's an ISO standard, and we ensure that once the actual assessment is performed and the actual applications are available, they then are presented to the hospitals, the health governments, the ministries of health, and so on and so on. Finally, as you can see here, we are the only organization throughout the world who have been doing this for the last 8 years. We have spoken to a number of organizations throughout the world, and we are now in 14 different countries. We have had conversations with, of course, the Ministry of Health and Prevention in Dubai. We have also spoken to the Ministry of Health in Abu Dhabi and also the Ministry of Health in Saudi Arabia as well. So from here, we have constant conversations occurring based on providing the best and the safest applications through trust, which then sits with ORCA as an organization. Some of the organizations we are working with, as you can see here, have come to us, and they are assisting us, even though we are impartial. We don't work with any organization because we assess them all. They are assisting us with further information. For example, how users find digital health and how it is actually working for them, whether it's good, whether it's bad, and for example, how that could be improved. So that's where my conversation will finish. Thank you so much for allowing me to tell you a little bit about this. From my perspective, it's very, very important. I have lost parents. I've lost my mum and my dad through cancer and through individual illnesses where they could have been given the right applications to assist them with mental health, to assist them with cancer, living with cancer, to assist them with diabetes, and to assist them in other areas as well. But of course, unless you know which are the best and which are the safest and which work the best as well, then of course, you're not sure if you have the right ones. And that's where I'd like to stop and pass back to you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, George, for the interesting topic in the healthcare, specifically in the technology and innovation. Dr. Hanadi, I believe we close session 2 now with the journey for entrepreneur, and hopefully we should be now in session 3.